Special adjourned meeting of the Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County Council is coming to you live from the council chambers at the historic Metro Courthouse. It's a public affairs presentation of the Metro Nashville Network. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Nolan, your announcer for this program. Tonight, the 15th Metropolitan Council holds its 66th business meeting of a four-year term. This is the 12th council meeting of 2022 and the first special adjourned meeting of this calendar year. Tonight's council agenda is a very brief one, just over 2 pages. All legislation to consider will be all third reading bills. There are 10 in number. All these bills are routine business. The reason for this special adjourned meeting is to approve the annual capital improvements budget for Metro. This is a 5-year planning document. It does not appropriate or spend any money. But any project the city contemplates must be a part of this plan, which must be adopted every year by June 15th. Therefore, the deadline of June 15th is needed for tonight's special session, since the next regular session of the council is not until June 21st. There are 6 amendments being proposed to the capital budget. All went through committee meetings just about an hour ago. Perhaps the one of most interest concerns the $2.2 billion new Titans football stadium and event facility that will be on the East Bank, or renovating the current football structure there. The amendment pinpoints how the facility will be financed and renovated, including Metro's funding. The amendment says renovation of the current stadium or building a new stadium is to be funded with no general obligation bond. Funding sources will include contributions from the state and the team, and revenue bonds from the Sports Authority. The debt service from the Sports Authority will be backed by state and local options, sales taxes, and hotel-motel tax revenues, statutorily designated by the state of Tennessee, along with other funds and tourist-related sources. Another sports-related amendment, what was before the council tonight, looks like it's probably going to be approved in a housekeeping manner. It would have deleted 2 GO bond proposals that were in the current project, totaling $2.3 million for improvements to First Horizon Ballpark, home of the Nashville Sounds baseball team. Instead, there would be $750,000 in proposed GO bonds would be included for general repairs and upgrades to HVAC, the roof, the lighting, structural works, all within a time plan of FY 2026 or later. It appears some of these projects have already been paid for by this team or already been taken care of, so it will go through more or less as a housekeeping amendment, and again, it does not spend any money. Another amendment would delete a project that was once a high priority and continues apparently to be a high priority of the administration of Mayor John Cooper. The proposal would end the Jefferson Street Multimodal KEP program, to be funded with an estimated $254 million in federal and state funds, along with local GO bonds, all this in the current capital improvements budget. Federal and state monies have so far not fully materialized, and community support and involvement is also not surfaced either, at least in the way that some would like to see it. The sponsors here in the council that wanted to delete the program want to see more of that involvement before the city moves forward. There was debate about this in the committees tonight. No recommendation was made. It's believed this particular amendment may be withdrawn tonight on the floor. Amendment is also being proposed to spend $8.7 million in proposed GO bonds to renovate or build a new 50 Ford facility out in the Bordeaux area. That's going to be withdrawn. The sponsor says she's working with the mayor's office to look at other funding possibilities for this particular project, but she's positive about going forward. Doesn't mean she says that Bordeaux will be left behind again in terms of city facilities. Also, another amendment would have put $23 million in GO bond funding to spend $3 million for a new kitchen for the sheriff's department and $20 million for a capital contingency fund, unspecified, for future government projects. Both those 2 amendments were approved tonight, so they'll be part of what the council will look at. Once the council has dealt with all the amendments before tonight, it's expected to pass the capital budget on third and final reading. Operating budget will be coming up in a week when the council meets on June 21st. Still some things to be worked out. You'll be seeing a substitute budget coming up as well. Perhaps some consideration about, instead of a 4% pay raise for Metro employees, maybe 4.5%, not the 5% that was recommended that many employees talked about during their last public hearing the council had. That was recommended by the Civil Service Commission. Under the city's charter, the operating budget must be approved each year by June 30th, or the mayor's budget goes automatically into effect. Tonight's meeting again is being held during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. State law has stripped the Metro Health Department of the power to continue any mask mandate in all city-owned buildings. Virus cases are again rising in Nashville. In fact, the federal CDC says we're in a community with a high level of transmission for the Omicron variant of the virus. Therefore, wearing masks tonight, this meeting is recommended but not required. You may see more council members, as you did at the last meeting, wearing masks tonight. Let's go now to Vice Mayor Jim Schulman. He'll be gaveling tonight's special adjourned council meeting into order shortly.
Will the meeting please come to order? We welcome you to the Metro Council. Today is Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. This is the meeting of the council specially called to consider the capital improvements budget pursuant to the Metropolitan Charter. Will all members of the council as well as the public please rise for the invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation this evening will be offered by me. So let us pray. Both in times of good and in times of bad, people of diverse beliefs and faiths look for guidance and strength in different ways. Life can be so amazing and yet so hard. Successes can be so uplifting, yet tragedy so discouraging. As we go forward, give us all the wisdom and guidance necessary to make sound and reasonable decisions. Give us the understanding that listening can sometimes be much more useful than talking. Help us know that every one of us can be wrong and that admitting it is okay and in many cases beneficial. Help all of us see that although we may differ on some things, we can agree on others and peacefully exist. Give this governing body, along with the mayor and the people who serve the city, the ability to make good, solid decisions that keep our citizens safe, our children well educated, and our city properly functioning. Help this country and this world find peace. And lastly, please help us protect the children. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, y'all may be seated. Without objection, we will suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting from June 7th, 2022? Properly seconded. Without objection, the minutes of the meeting will stand approved as written. Mr. Clerk, any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Two reminders before we get started. I believe that we cannot ever forget the large number of mass shootings that are still devastating our country. Country seems to have a short memory span. As you watch the stories continue about Uvalde, Texas, they seem to be fewer and far between. I ask that you continue to keep those families in your thoughts and prayers. And again, let us not forget the people of Ukraine and other places that are battling for their country and for their lives. So we have a short calendar tonight. We are now ready for bills on third reading, which will include the CIB ordinance. We're just going to go through this. We do not have a consent calendar. We're just going to go through the bills. So we are on item number 1. It's BL 2022-1259 by Council Members O'Connell, Withers, and Young. It's an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing electrical easement rights, property located at 1000 Church Street. Council Member Withers, can you handle this one?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I believe all committee reports are in. Is that correct?
Right.
I would like to move approval.
All right. Yeah, all committee reports are in. Councilmember Withers moves for approval of BL 2022-1259 for passage on third reading, properly seconded. Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of 2022-1259 for passage on third and final reading say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Item number 2, BL 2022-1260, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water mains, except new public water mains, fire hydrant assemblies, and sanitary sewer manholes. Property located at 2000 Church Street, also known as the Mid-State Medical Office Building. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
All right, all committee reports are in. Councilmember Taylor has moved for approval. Final passage of 2022-1260. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Was that discussion or a bless you? I heard something back there. We're ready to vote. BL 2022-1260. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Item number 3, Bill 2022-1261. Council members Johnston, Withers, and Young. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 454 Elysian Fields Road, also known as Elysian Flats. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
Move approval, please.
All right. So all committee reports are in. Councilmember Johnston has moved approval, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, ready to vote. All those in favor of 2022-1261 for passage on third and final reading say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Item number 4, Bill 2022-1262 by Councilmember Syracuse, Withers, and Young. It's an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to abandon existing public water mains and easements, to relocate a public fire hydrant assembly, and to accept a permanent easement for property located at 433 Opry Mills Drive, also known as the Olive Garden Restaurant. Councilmember Syracuse, you're recognized.
Mayor, move approval, please.
Councilmember Syracuse does move approval. All the committee reports are in, properly seconded. Any discussion about this regarding the Olive Garden restaurant out there? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We're on item number 5, Bill 2022-1263. Council members Withers and Young. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to accept new public sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to adjust 3 sanitary sewer manholes for property located at 9828 Split Log Road in Williamson County, also known as Rosebrook Phase 2. Councilmember Withers, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. With all committee reports being in, I'd like to move approval.
Councilmember Withers has moved approval, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, ready to vote. We're voting on Bill 2022-1263 for passage on third and final reading. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. Thank you, Councilmember Withers. Keep standing. Bill 2022-1264 by Withers and Young. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept a new fire hydrant assembly and easement. Property located at 5738 Cambridge Road, also known as the Nashville Chin Baptist Church. Councilmember Withers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. With all committee reports being in, I'd like to request approval.
All right. Councilmember Withers has moved for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of 2022-1264 for passage on third reading say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The bill passes on third reading. Thank you, Councilmember Withers. I guess keep standing. You got the next one. BL 2022-1265, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept a sanitary sewer manhole for 3 properties located at 1212, 1214, and 1218 McGavick Street, also known as Madeira McGavick. Councilmember Withers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I'd like to move approval.
All right. So Councilmember Withers has moved for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of the bill for passage, 2022-1265 for passage on third and final reading, say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on third reading. Item number 8, Bill 2022-1266 by Council members Benedict, Withers, and Young. It's an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to abandon existing public sanitary sewer main and easements and to accept new public sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 3104 Gallatin Pike. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Move approval, please. Thank you.
Councilmember Benedict moves approval, properly seconded. All committee reports are in. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. BL 2022-1266 passes on third and final reading. Item number 9, BL 2022-1267. Council members Van Rees, Withers, and Young. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 121 Hart Lane. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
With all committee reports in, I move approval.
Councilmember Van Rees has moved approval, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of the bill say aye. Opposed, no. The bill passes on third and final reading. The last bill on the calendar, item number 10, BL 2022-1268 by Council members Allen and Withers. This is an ordinance adopting the 2022-2023 through 2027-2028 capital improvements budget for the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County as the official capital improvements budget of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County for fiscal year 2022-2023. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Let me go to Councilmember Withers, Planning and Zoning.
And we are going to do the amendments separately, is that correct?
I'm assuming we'll just go ahead and give the committee reports on all the amendments, but
If you want to go ahead and give all the committee, yeah, you can do
Okay,
that.
thank you.
right
Planning and zoning met, and we recommended approval of the capital improvements budget as amended with amendments 1, 2, 3, and 5. 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Allen, you've got the Budget Committee report.
okay. Budget and Finance considered the amendments and recommended amendments 1, 2, and 3, 10 in favor, 0 against. Amendment 5, 9 in favor, 0 against. And recommended the CIB as amended with those 1, 2, 3, 4 amendments, 9 in favor, 0 against.
All right.
And
so,
I would move the CIB, and then we'll start talking about amendments.
All right, so Councilmember Allen has moved passage on third and final reading of BL 2022-1268, properly seconded. Before we start going through the whole thing in the amendments, and Ms. Darby is here to explain if I can't. In going back through the rules, because we're passing the capital improvements budget tonight, we had to look at both council rules 15 and 41. 41 actually refers back to council rule 15. In order to properly ensure that all the amendments to the CIB tonight are before this body properly, pursuant to those two council rules, 15 and 41, unless there is any objection about it, I'm declaring the rules are suspended in order to have all properly filed amendments properly before this body tonight. Ms. Darby, and we can talk about this if we want, but basically Rule 15 has certain dates in there that talk about October the 31st, talking about the ensuing fiscal year. There's another date, I think, in December. We may want to go back and look at the rules at some point to make sure that they're cohesive when we have bills, when we have the capital improvements budget up in June. But just to be on the safe side, we thought it was appropriate to suspend the rules to make sure there's no question, to get all the amendments that are properly before this body, to make sure that they are properly before the body tonight. Is there any objection to suspension of the rules? Okay, rules are suspended. We are now on BL 2022-1268. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
I believe that Councilmember Withers has the First Amendment.
All right, so we're on amendment number 1 by Councilmember Withers. You're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move Amendment 1.
All right, so Councilmember Withers has moved Amendment 1, properly seconded. Back to you for an explanation of the amendment.
Despite the amazing hard work of Mr. Claxton and all of his staff in considering the capital improvements budget, there were a couple of housekeeping corrections that were discovered that are recorded in this amendment. And so we beg forgiveness of the body, but ask for everyone's approval of Amendment 1.
All right, so Councilmember Withers has explained that this is correcting parts of the bill to make sure we get it right. That's amendment number 1, again, properly seconded. Discussion on amendment number 1. Anybody? All right, seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of amendment number 1, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Amendment number 1 is on. We go on to amendment number 2, which is by Council Members Allen and Mendez. Who would like to take it? Councilmember Mendez, you're recognized.
I think we already had committee reports, so I'll move the amendment.
Okay, so Councilmember Mendez has moved the proposed amendment number 2 to the capital improvements budget, properly seconded. Back to you for an explanation of the amendment.
Sure. This is regarding the $2.2 billion football stadium project, and it just adds a more precise description of the revenue sources to make sure we're clear to the public that local option sales tax will be used to support revenue bonds should the stadium be approved. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Mendez. Discussion on the amendment. Again, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of amendment number 2, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Amendment number 2 goes on. So we've got 1 and 2 on. We're now on proposed amendment number 3 by Councilmember Bradford. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This amendment is just a housekeeping to change some language. Initially, when I put this item on the CIB. It was for a different street, and after conversations with the community, they wanted it at another intersection. So I made the timely update in the CIB, but unfortunately, when planning department put together the CIB before us now, they neglected to make that change. So this is just amending that to the correct street address, and hopefully this gives that community one step closer to having the intersection that they've been asking for.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Bradford moves passage of amendment number 3, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, ready to vote. We're voting on proposed amendment number 3 to the capital improvements budget. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Proposed amendment number 4 to 2022-1268 by Councilmember Hurt. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to withdraw with a statement, please.
Okay, so we'll consider the amendment withdrawn. We don't have a motion. You're recognized on your amendment.
Thank you very much. So I just want, and I ask my colleagues to indulge with me for just a moment. But I started working on Jefferson Street directly after leaving Meharry Medical College for 17 years in 1999. And when I would walk down the streets, there were train tracks in the middle of the street, the railways where the trolleys used to go down, that you could see. The street was in such bad disrepair. Not only that, but we had a car wash, and everything was going on over there except for washing cars. No one wanted to go down Jefferson Street, but there were people who had been 4, 5, 6 generations on that street, and they had pride, and they loved it. If you walk out on Jefferson Street right now, you can feel the spirit of that community. It used to be an affluent community where you had doctors, lawyers, custodians, police officers, nurses, you name it, everybody was there. All of the entertainers came to Jefferson Street. Ray Charles, Ike and Tina Turner, you name it, Chubby Checkers, Fats Domino, Little Richard, all of them. Anybody that wanted to be somebody was there on Jefferson Street, and it was a prideful place. It went down after the interstate came in and integration because it was a double blow to that community. And people have given their blood, sweat, and tears to keep it afloat, to keep it going, because then, 50s and 60s, it was thriving. It was the heartbeat of the Black community. I begged for money to be put in the capital improvement budget, and I remember Lutie Wallace telling me that there was a priority A, B, and C, and Jefferson Street was always in priority C, even though there needed to be some turning lanes and other improvements up and down that street. They never gave them priority. Now we talking about 30 years later, it is now a priority. Now that the demographics have changed, it's a priority. One thing that I've said to that community since I've been there, that we've got to be engaged. We've got to show up at the meetings. We got to do our part. We don't let people come in here and tell us what they're going to do for us. We tell them what we want to do, and we work it out together. That's how public-private partnerships work. And what this Jefferson Street CAP can do for the community, if it is community-led, if it is something from the bottom up and not from the top down, if we listen to those people who are there, legacy residents, because they know the community just like they know the back of their hands. And I've listened to them for 25 years. But as I said in the committee meeting, I understand, as my mother said, that it's better to have and not need than it is to need and not have. So yes, I put this on to be removed because we gotta have a conversation, and it has to be a truthful conversation. We got to get to the bottom of it if we're going to fix it. A cap is not going to correct a wrong that was done. It's not going to bring generational wealth, which was taken from people back in that time. It's not going to heal the community. But can it make it better? Yes, it absolutely can. And it's going to take us working together to do it, not people coming in telling us what we need to do. There are plenty of things that can be done in that community, and it did not need to be overlooked. Bringing a cap and not talking to the community is almost like bringing new furniture to a dirty house. We got to get our house in order, and we've got to do it together. On that, I ask for withdrawal.
Thank you, Councilmember Hurt. That amendment will be withdrawn. We are ready for proposed amendment number 5, which is by Councilmember Van Rees. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, and if I could indulge, thank you, Council Lady Hurt. I've heard you say a lot, but you have said it more articulately tonight and communicated to all of us better tonight than I could have ever hoped or dreamed, and I appreciate all of it. I am overwhelmed by your support of that community and of the whole city, so thank you for that. I do have amendment number 5, however, and I would like to move that it be approved and give you a brief explanation about that.
All right, so Councilmember Van Rees moves approval of amendment number 5, properly seconded. Back to you for an explanation of the amendment.
Yes, this was actually good news. There were items put in the CIB that had already been paid for, and very great explanation was given to us in committee. If there are any questions, I'm happy to address them, but I move approval.
All right, so Councilmember Van Rees has moved approval, again properly seconded. Any discussion, questions on the amendment? Seeing none, we are ready to vote on Councilmember Van Rees's motion. This is amendment number 5. All those in favor of amendment number 5 say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment number 5 passes. Thank you, Councilmember Van Rees. Proposed amendment number 6 is by Councilmember Toombs. You recognize, Councilmember.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I am also going to withdraw this amendment. I'd like to make a very brief statement.
All right, Councilmember Toombs is withdrawing the amendment. We don't have to vote on it. Councilmember Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I kept this amendment in the packet because I had a very good meeting with Mayor Cooper, Senator Brenda Gilmore, the CEO of 50 Ford, as well as the director of 54 Bordeaux, about their plans to renovate and expand the current facility that has served the Bordeaux community for a very long time, and it'd be very beneficial to that community. Though using bond funds is not appropriate for a nonprofit, I did want it to publicly be known that I will be working with the administration to find other funding methods for that community, which, as we know, it's rich in culture and history, but has not been able to participate in the exponential growth of the city. And I just wanted the residents of Bordeaux to know that they have not been forgotten and that this project is a priority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Councilmember Toombs is withdrawing amendment number 6. All right, that completes the amendments. We have adopted amendment number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 5. 4 and 6 were withdrawn. All right, so that's where we are. Councilmember Allen, I'm going to come back to you. You are now on your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I move the CIB as amended.
Okay, so Councilmember Allen has moved 2022-1268, the capital improvements budget, as amended for passage on third and final reading. It's been properly seconded. Discussion on 2022-1268. Any discussion? All right, ready to vote? We probably need to go on the board. Mr. Clerk? I think the answer is we must need to go on the board. So we will be on the board voting on BL 2022-1268. Needs 21 votes to pass. Mr. Clerk, tell me when you're ready. Okay. Mr. Clerk, we are voting on BL 2022-1268 as amended. Mr. Clerk, open up the machines. Everybody in? All right. Mr. Clerk, if you would, close the votes. And there they are. The vote is 28 ayes, 0 noes, no abstentions. BL 2022-1268 as amended passes on third and final reading. All right, one thing before everybody leaves, Councilmember Allen, do we need to give everybody a quick update on anything going on with the Budget Committee? Remember, we meet next week, next Tuesday. Anything that you need to tell everybody?
Yeah, just to run through the schedule again very quickly, I have gotten great direction from the Budget and Finance Committee members and all those other council members that participated in the workshop process, and I'm grateful for that. And I will now go home and start crunching numbers. And I have pledged to the Budget and Finance folks that I will have numbers ready to give to them tomorrow at noon. And Director Darby and I also will intend to share that information with the rest of the council members with the qualifier that Budget and Finance may make some changes to that. So it's not final until they finalize it, which they promised to do on Thursday at noon. So that will give council members some opportunity to begin to think about amendments if they feel like there are other changes, although I hope to goodness I will do my best to reflect the will of the body. But if you do want to make amendments, that is allowed. Ms. Darby needs those by noon on Friday. Do you want to add to that?
I was just going to say, if possible, Thursday would be better,
Preferable.
so we would have time to generate them and get them back to finance, because they will also want to look at any amendments to make sure that they balance.
Right. This is a balanced budget. We have to keep it balanced.
And then ideally, we would get the amendments back out to the body on Friday evening if we can get them in earlier.
So team effort on that one.
Right.
And everyone should remember that Monday is Juneteenth, so there is no Budget Committee meeting on Monday. It will happen on Tuesday. That schedule will be coming out.
Yeah, so my only question is, if you want them on Thursday, what time on Thursday do they need to be into your office?
Preferably by noon.
All right, so if you have a proposed amendment to the operations budget, you need to have it into the council office to our director by noon on Thursday, correct? Okay. Anything else?
Any other questions? Direct to the director.
I've got Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized. Hold on. Wait a minute. Too many buttons lit. There we go.
Since we will not be in committee on the 20th, I wanted to encourage everyone to watch Nashville Public Television for the Aging Matters special program as part of Pride Month. It's a special episode regarding LGBT aging in our community, and I encourage you to watch it on the 20th. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Anything else that needs to be discussed? Councilmember Mendez?
Yeah, just back on the deadline, I understood the deadline to submit amendments is noon on Friday with a pretty please, if you can do it on Thursday, do it by Thursday, is what I understood.
Yes, it's preferable that if you can, get them in by Thursday so that we have time to circulate them with the finance department so that they can see if the amendments budget and balance, and that way we can get them submitted back out to the body as an amendments packet for the operating budget on Friday evening, if we can get them all in advance.
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly do my best, but I want to see the substitute, not the draft spreadsheet that's pretty close to right. I appreciate the clarification.
And another reason why we would like to see them earlier if possible, it's for the benefit of everyone, because Monday is the holiday, and while we will have all of our committee meetings on Tuesday, as you know from other past Monday short weeks, those are really compressed and we get pretty tight for time. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Mendez, you good? Good. Okay. Councilmember Murphy.
I just wanted everyone to acknowledge that it's Tom Cash's birthday.
All right. Happy birthday, Councilmember Cash. Councilmember Cash, with
You're welcome, Councilman Cash.
would you make a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Councilmember Cash moves to adjourn, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. We're adjourned.
Was that a preemptory thank you to the council office before you?
Our meeting was held, lasted about 30 minutes, was because the council had to approve by June 15th, the annual capital improvements budget for Metro. The capital improvements budget is a 5-year planning document. It does not spend any money at all, but its importance is any project that Metro wants to take up must be in that budget to get started. And one of the things about it now that it's passed, and it passed 28-0 tonight with no dissent from the council, is if somebody comes in with a new project and they want to get it in this year's capital budget to get started, it'll take a 2/3 or 27 vote margin in this council to get that done. So that doesn't happen very often, but it is quite a hill to overcome to get that done. The council considered 6 amendments to the capital budget tonight. They approved 4 of them and 2 of them with withdrawal. Perhaps the most interesting one in there tonight was an amendment that the council did approve to the $2.2 billion new Titans football stadium and event facility. It'll be on the East Bank or renovating that current facility there now. The amendment pinpoints how the facility will be financed and renovated, including Metro's funding. The amendment says the renovation of the current stadium or building of a new stadium is to, quote, be funded with no general obligation bonds. Funding sources will include our contributions from the state and the team and revenue bonds from the Sports Authority. The debt service for those bonds from the Sports Authority will be backed by state and local option sales taxes and hotel-motel tax revenues statutorily designated by the state of Tennessee and other funds and tourist-related sources. Another sports-related amendment that was also up tonight that the council approved, it turned out to be housekeeping in a measure. It would have deleted $2.3 million in improvements to the First Horizon ballpark on the Nashville Sounds baseball team. It turns out most of that has already been done and paid for by the team, so this was sort of housekeeping to do that. This does put $750,000 in proposed geoponds for general repairs and upgrades to the HVAC along with the roof, lighting, and structural work for the baseball park, with the timeline of that being somewhere in fiscal year 2026 or later. Again, the capital budget does not spend any money. This amendment and the others that were approved tonight do not spend these or any other funds. That will take council action in the future. Another amendment would deleted a project that remains a high priority, apparently, of the Mayor John Cooper's administration. Proposal would have ended the Jefferson Street multi-motor CAP program to be funded with an estimated $254 million in state and federal funds, along with local GO bonds. Federal and state monies have not yet materialized, and the community support and involvement has not surfaced either. That led Councilmember at Large Sharon Hurt to ask to end the project. Once she made that point and asking that now begin, she asked that be withdrawn. So apparently the project is still alive, at least it's still in the capital improvements budget, when and if it's ready to be moved forward. An amendment also was proposed to spend $8.7 million in proposed GO bonds to renovate the new 50 Forward facility. That's out in the Bordeaux area. There's some question about whether those kind of monies can be used for a nonprofit. But at this point, that was withdrawn as well by the council member who says she wants to work with the mayor's office and others to find other funding sources for that project to go forward. The council did approve 2 other amendments to the capital budget. One, spend $3 million to fund a new kitchen for the sheriff's department. That was also supposed to be in the capital budget, but apparently was left out. And $20 million in a capital contingency fund for unspecified general government projects. Again, that was supposed to be in the project in the capital budget, but was not put in there. The council added in as sort of a housekeeping measure. Council is now in recess until next Tuesday night on June 21st, which is the regular council meeting. Changes are being expected at that time to the nearly $3 billion spending plan submitted by Mayor Cooper. Those changes are still being worked on in committee. You heard the council talk about that at the very end of the meeting tonight when they want amendments to come in. There will be a substitute budget drafted out of all of that, along with perhaps some other changes after that. One of the changes may be what to do exactly for a pay raise for city workers. It was proposed in the budget for a 4% pay raise. Many employees came and said they wanted it to be 5%. That's also been recommended by the Civil Service Commission. We're hearing talk within the committee that perhaps the pay raise that will be recommended in the substitute budget will be about a 4.5% pay raise. Under the city, and there's also some concerns about the school budget. It does have a record amount of new money, $92 million, but there are also some problems with the school budget because of cuts being made by the state because of declining enrollment in Metro. Under the city charter, a new operating budget must be adopted every year by June 30th, or the mayor's proposal goes into effect automatically. We'll be here at that time a week from tonight on June 21st to cover the regular council meeting, which will include the passage of the operating budget. At that time, we'll be here at that time to provide live coverage. Until then, I'm Pat Nolan, and good night from the council chambers. Tonight's special adjourned meeting of the Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County Council has been coming to you live from the council chambers at the historic Metro Courthouse. It's been a public affairs presentation of the Metro Nashville Network.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.